back to this Panasonic Eco I that was overcharged. So here's the software for these units, your piping diagram. There's mathematical formulas you could do by hand, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. It's so much easier doing this way. My very first unit I did it by myself, and the company that was selling units didn't have the piping software yet, and they didn't send, and I was at the time of charging and setting up my system, and they didn't make the phone calls and emails necessary. I did all this by hand and in my head. It took me a little while, but I had it exactly right on the money. When they called up the factory and they sent back what I was supposed to add, it was exactly the same, but it's so much easier having the software. So this is the piping software. Now if you look closely, for additional outdoor units, additional amount of refrigerant required. For the piping, just for the piping, 206 ounces of refrigerant will be added. Now the outdoor units come with 20 pounds of refrigerant in each outdoor unit. In this system, there's two 8-ton outdoor units. But on top of that, for that system setup, you add an additional 141 ounces of refrigerant. Then for the combination of all the indoor units, this will change every time depending on how many and what size indoor units you're, 318 ounces. And our total amount of additional refrigerant to charge on top of the refrigerant that comes in each of the outdoor units is 666 ounces. Now I'll shrink this down here a little bit, and you can see the piping layout. So there's our two outdoor units on the roof. Those are two 8-ton units. And in the piping, let's see here. So in the piping, they have them lettered, and every step of the way, the piping changes sizes as it gets further and further down the line towards the end. It starts out at like 1 1/8 inch, no, it's 1 5/8 inch suction line starting at the outdoor units upstairs. And by the time it gets all the way, coming all the way down here to the very last unit, and that very last unit is off a Y there, here's the pipes coming off to the very last unit. You have a little 3/8 line and a 1/2 inch line going to the very last head that drops down into here. That's only a little 1-ton head. Now there's no way that you're gonna guess this. You're not gonna hook up a set of gauges and go by pressures. You're not gonna go by superheat. You're not gonna go by subcooling, taking your temperature measurements out there, anything like that. All that knowledge that you had from years ago on your conventional system, throw it out the window basically. Now this particular situation here, what we had, we came here when they had another technician. If you haven't been following this series of videos, another technician came in and the system wasn't cooling right because one of these little 1-ton heads, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 1-ton heads. This last little 1-ton head is in this room right here. The 6 other 1-ton heads are in this room right here. All these 1-ton heads were completely packed and plugged up with dust, debris, sulfur inside the screens for the filters. There was barely any airflow, and the technician tried to diagnose why it wasn't cooling, so he decided to add refrigerant. On top of that, there was a dead fan blower motor. So one of these fan blowers were dead. He tried to guess and get pressures. And then we had low temperatures on top of that. And he was trying to see, so they went up on the roof with 240 8-pound containers of refrigerant and just started dumping in refrigerant into the system because the technician thought he was supposed to see a certain kind of pressure that he's used to seeing. And that was his method of fixing a broken system. What wasn't really broken, it just had a fan blower down and plug filters. And we'll get back more to this later on. Let's see if I could open up this. And here's the live software. And it shows you here off to the side. It gives you exactly how many feet of every size line set, how many branches you have, your joints. Here's your, when you order your joints, it automatically tells you the size of the joints, their part numbers, and how many you have when you're doing your ordering. So all this stuff is taken care of. All right, see you in the next video after we fill this up with refrigerant.